Okay guys, now that we have our new pattern, it's time to generate the model on 3D. Let's count first how many curves we will need. For verticals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and remember this one is the same for the left, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and if we take the reference, we would need it like 3 more, so it will be 12. I will try to make 14, 14 for all. So let's get here and let's create first a plane, and this plane here will be a 14 by 14 plane, and an X will be 14 units and a Z will be 14 units. We have two ways to create this guy. The first one is to generate a curve here, here, and here. We have the curve, and let's center pivot and make the curve straight. Let's attach the curve to the actual point, and you will need to go to curves, look for revealed, it's here, and you want 14 and the number of spans, and this way you will have one span per vertex. Let me see, if you don't reveal, you will have less points or controls, and if you rebuild the curve to the amount that you want, you will have the same amount per vertex. That's the first way. The second way is to select an edge. Let's see, this is my edge, and you go for modify, convert polygons or edges to curves. Let me see where polygon edges to curves, and apply, and you have the control vertex and you have the same amount. You just need to delete both on the edges, and it's the same procedural for both. You decide, you will need to remove the edges for the other one, and the only part left is the one you have everything here. Just select and move and snap, or select the guy, go to edit, duplicate the special, and translate in X, Y, and Z 1, and I need 13 copies. Here, apply, and now I have my 13 copies. I think I needed 14 copies actually. 14 copies. Yep. And for this one here, I will need to translate in Y-axis 14 times. No. My mistake. I need to translate in Z-axis 14 times. And negative. So negative. -1, and that's it. And now I have, let's hide the other guy, and let's hide my actual grid. I have a grid made of curves. For this guy, I will need to make my actual curve maybe one more to have the grid. I will not. I will try to make it work this way. From top view, I will bring my image plane. Let's look for the texture. Let's set the project first. Under projects, fabric tutorial, and source images, burlap. And this is the burlap width. So something like that should be enough. And I will have to select this guy to take it under, because I don't want to see him too close here. I will need to see him really close from here. So I will take the vertical lines, here's the horizontal lines, and I will add them to a layer, and this layer I will put the color, so it will be blue. And for the other lines that I have here, I will put the color, and this one should be red. Right? So we have our actual lines here. Now it's time to decide how do you want to continue. I will select this guy and I will say that I don't want to have this guy visible on our cameras, and I will bring the texture again, the same texture, burlap width from the side, as I want to have this guy as a reference here. So for the first width, the yellow should be on top. I will remove the selection of polygons, and I will select every line that will have to be on top on the first line here. So the first one should be, let me see, I need to scale it to be smaller here and to adjust to each line to be sure that I have the actual size that I need, because remember that we decided to use more lines here. Okay, so I will have to duplicate this guy, and it should be something like that. Now, I will need to select every line that it's on top on the left, maybe a little bit more, just to be sure of the reference. Every line that it's on top on the left, this one is on top on the left, this one, and this one, and this one. Now go to Control Vertex and select each vertex where the line is on top. Okay. Control vertex, control vertex, control vertex per line. This part is slow, but you will have your custom patterns, and they're great when you have custom texture and your work it's going to be completely different from everyone else. And as you saw in the tutorials, the quality of the images are great, and the quality for this type of workflow, it's amazing. So let's select all lines that I need, and here the yellow is on top. I can actually select everything, but I'm going just to select the ones that I already saw. Both here, both here, both here, both, no, this one it's not there. And where yellow is on top. Okay, here, both here, 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 here. Remember that we are not selecting every line. We want to have a variance in the altitude for the difference that we're going to create. That's why we're not selecting every line that it's on top, just some of them. I think that's enough. And I will go to the side and move my lines half away, half a unit. I can move them a unit, but will be maybe enough or too much, so we'll make maybe 75% a unit. This way we have the first wave here. Now it's time to select the ones that are on the second line. Remember that the first one that we selected were the ones that has the yellow on top. Now we are selecting the ones that it has the purple. For the ones that has the purple, okay, I don't have the line there. Control vertex, control vertex. Okay, and yellow, everyone here has the yellow on top. Everyone here has the yellow on top. And everyone here. Okay, same process. And this time I'm going to go half a unit, not the same. I don't want to have the same amount. And also I'm going to try to move them and to bend them just a little bit. Maybe less, maybe more. But just a tiny bit. Not too much because it's going to be visible on a pattern, but this perfect amount to have a deformation there. So I have both. I have vertical, and every vertical line it's already on place. Now I need to adjust the position for the horizontal lines to make them to be just under each of them, or on the center. Now it's time to start with the verticals. The verticals are tricky. For the verticals you need to make just a tiny adjustment here, because if you set too much, if you change too much, and if you move them up and down and the difference is big, it's going to appear that the knit, that the actual fabric is loose. So it's not that there's no tension there. So the vertical lines are the ones that defines the tension. Or the horizontal, it depends on the actual type of cloth that you're going to work. For this guy, if we remember the widths, let me see. The horizontal ones are the ones that has the actual tension. So we will need to fix the 3D animate to make the difference lower or not that big. Let's select each line that the purple it's behind. It's on top, sorry. So purple is on top, purple is on top, purple, purple, purple. And this one should have more variance, so I'm going to select them and to make them be higher there. Maybe a little bit more. No, I'm going to select the ones that I didn't select just to make them a little bit like this. Okay, and now let's select the other lines. That is when the yellow is on top. So here the yellow is on top. Here, okay. I need to convert selection. Here the yellow is on top. Yellow, 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 and yellow. Yellow is on top. And there. Now I'll do the same. I think I selected one that I shouldn't. Let me see. I let one of these guys loose. Yeah. So this one should be on top, and these ones should be underneath. Let's move this one a little bit more. This one a little bit more. Something like that. And it's time to correct these guys, because these guys are the tension. So I will need to scale them. Scale on Y 0.8. Scale on Y 0.7. 0.6, okay, something like that. I have the deformation, but it's not that much. Now, we have already the actual pattern. Now it's time to start creating the mesh. I'm going to save this guy here. So this is going to be burlap curves with. Now it's time to create the actual pattern. Let's go back, and if you go to see the burlap, it's really a stretch, and for the center, for the horizontal lines, it's circular, and for the vertical lines, it's more like an oval. So these ones are going to be the horizontal and the verticals. So the horizontal lines should be more like a circle, right? Why I'm not seeing a manipulator? Okay, it's here. Let's try to see. Oh, I did not select this guy. I need to select this guy and to see if I can adjust this guy alone. So yellow lines should be different from the other yellow. So if this one should be something like that. Let me try to follow to the other guy and to adjust the position. Should be something like that. Yeah, it's close. Okay, now let's hide or delete these guys and let's create a circle. And I'm going to put the circle with a snap. For a snap, it's C and the center, the middle button of the mouse. Just scale it down and put it on a position where the line, the center line here of the rotation, touch your actual line there. So you have a perfect circle there, and I'm going to create the actual model. I'm going to select the line, and to test everything, go to surfaces, look for extrude, click on the box, and here select polygons, and you can select control points or count and put like 1000. And here I want to follow the result position at path. Now select first the curve and later the width and apply. And this is going to create, maybe what's behind, it's the other way around. No, it's okay. Why is it he's making me this guy inverse? So I want to have quads, and for some reason it's giving me this guy the way around. And I made a mistake actually. For patterns, the blue lines are the horizontal lines, and here on the, or with the horizontal lines, the blue lines should be the ones that has the tension. So the blue lines should be the ones that has actual deformation, and the red lines, the blue ones, should have the deformation, and this one shouldn't have that much deformation, because the blue lines has the tension and these lines don't have the tension, so the deformation should be on this one. And this one here is weird. I think this one should be under the blue line actually. I will need to fix the lines, but I will do that after I have my pattern, or it's the model itself. Okay. Let me see why it's that he's making the curve up inverse. Maybe I will need to put my guy on the other side. No. Maybe I will need to put this guy over here. Yep. Okay, so this one should be the pattern. I think it's too thick, and I will need to make it smaller. So that will be my first line. That now it's way higher than what it should. So let's select both guys here, take it down and adjust the size. So I have the size, I will duplicate and select the center, and I'm going to snap with C to each curve. C and middle mouse, right? Why? Because we are going to generate each of them with the same disposition. So select the line first, the circle first, the line after that, and hit apply. And it's done. With the G, you can repeat the last command, so you can actually have the amount done. I think that 1000 it's enough, right? Maybe I will need to add a little bit more of faces. Maybe it's too little. I'm going to select polygons to delete this one, and I think 1000 it's too little. I'm going to go for 2000 to have a better resolution curve there. Maybe even 3000 it's okay. That way I will have a nice depth map when I go to work on the depth map. You can even add more curves to the profile and generate an actual profile if you want. I will just adjust the curves manually later, and you will see that I'm going to create a pattern and some variations on the curves. And I have two steps to make this work. The first one is to make the adjustments with the actual curves, where you go randomly selecting some of the curves and adjusting the size of the actual curve. I'm going to deselect these guys, and you can change maybe the scale of just one size or just one side, maybe Y, maybe you want to scale it on X, maybe you want to scale it and to make it bigger or making it smaller. So that way you will have some variation on your pattern. You're not just making everything to see the same. And we already have the first line here. Now this one is way thicker than what it should be. This one here. Something like that is okay. And now let's see your pattern. Some of them are really thicker, so it's okay, I think. And I'm going to create another one really thick just to blend the actual pattern here. It's not visible that we have some parts that are just thicker because I want them to be thicker. Something like that. Pattern, it's not that visible. And it's time to start working on the other ones. These ones are more like an oval shape than the circular shape that we have here. And they are looser. Let's create a new circle here. Let's adjust the circle and let's create an oval. Again, to the side here, and let's try to have the same direction, and let's create our new shape. And we have the shape here. It's really big. I think I don't need it to be that big. Something like that should work. And I'm going to duplicate this guy and to put this guy over each line. So and now we have the actual shape for the working section. As you can see, we have some intersections here, and we need to remove that intersections. It's easy to see where you need to set and to put your, or where to fix your intersections to make everything work better and to have that tension over the lines. So that's easy to work here. I think that this one is going to be hard to get because it's different, and I'm going to follow the pattern for the ones that does not have tension. Remember that the smaller lines here that are not that big are the ones that has the tension. So I will try to keep that tension visible here. I'm going to move this curve a little bit higher because I want to fix this guy here, and I can see that everything here is not where it should be. They should be higher and the other points should be under just a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more on top, something like that. It's almost done. I think actually it's done already. And maybe I will need to... I can see a little bit here the maps, so maybe I can cut that part and to have that part here. So I'm going to cut the look for the outer edge and I'm just going to leave the inner edge. I'm going to reduce a little bit the size of this big guy. No, I'm not. I'm going to try to see how this guy looks. So I'm going to save this guy. This is the final width. And I'm going to set the patterns. So I already have Redshift. I'm going to go to Redshift and on output I'm going to create a puzzle map. And for the puzzle map I'm going to go for object ID and or even material ID, but I'm going to use object ID. The reds are going to be 1, the blues are going to be 2. So these guys here, just go to Redshift and blues were going to be 2. And you can do everything this way, or you can do and go for your material and select the red material and add the extra attributes on how do you want to be your object ID here, but I'm going to go and do everything manually here. Okay, now that we have everything set, it's time to create a render. So let's render this guy out. And if you take that and if you compare to the actual burlap, you're going to see that some of them tend to be thicker and some of them tend to be close together. Here I have some variations that does not permit to do that, but we are going to keep them just to generate the actual pattern and to see how it looks. If it's too much the amount of black, we will need to come to the model and to take the reds and to make the reds thicker. And that's really easy to do. So I'm going to look for my puzzle map here on the temps. This is going to be final width puzzle map. And as you can see, I have the puzzle maps already. I'm going to look for some words. So here I have the problem of intersection on this line. And I think here also I need to fix both of them before I make the final render. So here on the second and on the fifth from both. So the second one here will be this one. Select. This is really important. It's a back and forth when you're working and doing this. If you're really careful, you're not going to have any kind of intersection. Normally I do have intersections like always. I need to go back and forth trying to fix them all. Now, I have my burlap ID. I also have my actual puzzle map. It's working now. Everything should be working correctly. I have this part fixed. And this part is fixed also. So, I have the map already. It's time to create the zip depth map. I'm going to open Nuke for that. And here in Nuke, I'm going to read let me look for final width puzzle map. This is the one. And if you go for the red channel, you're going to see that we have the vertical lines, and on the blue channel we have the horizontal lines, and on the green channel we don't have anything. Now it's time to set our actual depth map. With Redshift, the depth map it's done by the, let's see, where's the depth map? Depth. And if you saw my tutorial, you know that with Redshift you set the red channel or the depth channel depending on your perspective camera and depending on your actual near and far clip planes. So I'm going to display near and far clip planes for my top camera, and I'm going to set my near plane here, and let's take the far clip plane closer, like 1. Let's see if I can see him over here. I made a mistake, I think. Let me see. Display. Okay, I'm going to display the near clip plane. That will be 10 units. I'm going to try to move 15 units to match. 15, 12, 13, yeah, 12 and 12.5. 12.5 units and 13 units. The far clip plane. No, 16, 15. So 15 units and 12 units for the depth. And also, let me see if it's working. Let's render this guy out. Render. And it's here. Let me go for the read again. And let's read the final width, see depth. And if I go to see the depth information, I cannot see anything here. Let's go to see depth and normalize and use the mean depth for ZBrush, for Nuke, sorry. Let's render again. I want to see the depth information, and I have the depth information now. Let's grade it. And I want to create the depth. It's not grading it. 3. Oh, it was grading on the other guy. So I need to grade this guy out to have a good look. I don't like to see everything in red, so normally I just shuffle. And now I can see the actual information here, and I can grade it later after the cut. So in fourth, I can grade this guy. I don't want to grade, I'm going to grade all. And let's see how this guy works when I just blended everything together. So let's take these guys out. I want this one to be the 2, and this is the 1, and this is the 2. Okay, so let's create a shuffle. And let's mix this guy and this guy. So I want the information from this guy to be the green channel, for the guy 1. Let's see. So this is my information from the main channel, and I want to remain with the information of the reds and the blues. And it's looking weird. Should not look like this. Shouldn't look like this. Maybe I'm not grading enough. Let me see. Yeah, the grading, it's weird. I need more contrast here. I will try to work more on the actual render to have more contrast, and to have more contrast here I will need to take the foregrip plane to 13, no, this one to 0.9 and this one to 14, I think 40.1. Let me see. It's working, and 0.8, no, 0.9, it's working. 0.2, it's working also. So I have more information here now. Let's go for the new stereographic camera. It's this one, and let's render again. I don't want to IPR, I want to completely render this guy. Now that I have the render, let's go again for nuke, and let's reload this guy over here. And let's start to grade. I can see some cuts here, so I'm going to change my anti-aliasing just in case. I'm going to go to 226, and for GI, let's put some GI. I think I don't need it. I'm almost sure that I don't, just in case, because I'm seeing some artifacts there. I'm putting a mean, so it shouldn't be important. So let's render this guy again, and redshift kind of scale everything when you render with IPR to the actual size. Now let's try to work on nuke again, and let's reload this guy, and let's reload this guy also. So I don't have any artifacts anymore. And I think that I can grade this guy again until I have a nice looking guy. Let me see, number 2, I can see the actual grading. Number 1. It depends on how much you want to move your waves. Here for the burla we will need to have like really a really big movement here, so something like that should be enough. And I will need to apply the information here to remove the whites and just to leave the information for the actual strand, and do not apply any kind of displacement to these parts. And for that, and to make the final grading, we will need to add an invert to the actual information, and that way we will have the alpha here and the information for our final guy. So I'm going to add an invert also here for you to see how this looks now. And let's grade this guy a little bit again, just to have the final result as we should. Let me show you the reference. This is how it works on one of the tools. This one is smaller, so it's not that easy to have the same effect. We can work through the variables of the grading to have a regular effect here, something like that. So we will have the density. Let me see. This is too hard to work on the other values. We have the lift. I think this is enough. Let me see. And we have the texture for the burlap. Let's try this guy out. And if you're working with new non-commercial, you just need to add a right over here and add a reformat. Remember that we are working reformat. We are working with tiles, so this guy does not need to be that big. So you can change to box and 1000, and it's going to work. So 1000 per 1000, and that will be it. You can wait, I did it wrong. This one should be here, and this one should be here. Okay. So with that, just select where do you want to save your file. This one, it's going to be source images, and burlap, it's going to be the name. So burlap color ID. Save and render. Yep. I didn't put the name. I want to be an XSR. And we have our map. Let me show you. We have Frederick tutorial images. No, I put it on source images. Burlap. And here we have our main map, where the red are the vertical lines, the blues are the horizontal lines, and we have the depth map information. Let's use this map and how it's going to work on the actual render. Let's save this scene, and I will open the new scene. This is my final scene for this part of the tutorial. It's the same scene that we were using for the shader ball, just with a different camera. And I will add the information for my material. I have my material here. This is the texture. Let's look for our new texture now. Burlap color ID. And this is the one. Should be working now. Let's render this guy. And now I have my own burlap texture. You can see actually that now that I have the result, some of the parts of the burlap seems to be lost. The vertical lines here, the ones that we did here, this is the burlap, yep, are too thin. So maybe we can make them bigger to have more detail there, or to repeat less on the y-axis. That's both conditions that you can achieve. But overall, the look is here, and you can add textures if you want color. You can add new parts, and that's the overall workflow that you have to follow to make your materials. I'm going to reduce a little bit that pattern for you to see, maximize the pattern. Let's say 20. And you can see the actual pattern here. It looks good when it's really big, but when you start to make it smaller, you see that you need to have more information and fill in the blanks, or the blacks here. So you will need to adjust a little bit the actual model, but overall everything is okay. And also, if you want to have transparency, for that we will use, at least with, let me show you first. You will need to add and to have the color for red, the input for red, and also for blue. You can do either this way, and you will have both patterns here in operation. And now I have my actual information, you see. Or the other way is to create a layer texture in whites, and for the inputs, the alphas, everything in add, and we have the actual information for the transparency. So you can connect this to opacity. With Redshift you will need to have a sprite and to connect the image here, and that's hard to do because you will need to have an actual work here. I think that for Redshift you will need to generate this guy as a different map without the information for the greens. The green value should be like this, like black. Let me show you. You will have to fill. I can fill. Fill with color, and the color will be black, and this one Control C, and I can't remember how to do this. Oh, that was why. Yeah. So I have this information, and I will leave this information as black and white. And everything else should be the same. So I have this information as my black and white. It's easier. Or the other way could be just to make your actual alpha, take the actual alpha as alpha, and you open the first image here. Alpha channel, so you will have, wait, final width, this one, this is the alpha channel. So I just need to leave this guy here, and I think it's inverse, and this one is going to be fabric burlap. We don't need to have to match its burlap opacity. For other render engines you don't need to make the map, but for this guy to work for sprites on Redshift you will need to make the actual guy. Let me see, it's not working, I just saved it. So burlap opacity, and this guy should be connected to the actual sprite, and the displacement should be connected to the sprite itself. And let's connect the sprite here, and let's render this guy. And you can see that the alphas are working. It's the same process that if you make a layer texture, but with Redshift you need to make some more adjustments. And let's repeat this guy to have like the 80 frames that we had before. And render this guy again. And again, for this texture, we will need to adjust some parts. The same alpha, it's not actually working that much, but again, it's because the vertical lines are too thin, and so you will need to adjust that part also. You can see that if we make the alpha half the amount, it's starting to look better. But this was the tutorial for how to make the patterns and the textures. I hope you guys are going to use it great, and you now know what to do, what not to do. What not to do, what to do, and what not to do. Hello guys, as you saw on the notes for the video, I decided to redo the blending here and some of the actual geometry. I just scaled every one of these guys. They were like this. I just scaled it to be thicker, and also these guys I just took every one of them and make him really thicker, and now it's working better. Also the part that had this kind of really high steps like this one here and this one here, they shouldn't be that stepped, they should be around the same level, because if you have some of these things and you're not working with a normalized level, like something like this, not that big as these guys here or these guys here, you're going to have a pattern. So if you have a pattern here, you will have to correct everything later. And this is the render, the actual render that I took. Let me show you. This is the last burlap, the final burlap, and this is the pattern that we have for the tutorial. So I had to redo a lot of things here. Let me see if I find the actual rework. And also, let me show you, I had to remove some of the actual patterns that you can see here. I didn't make the tile work correctly, so I had to go and correct it here in Photoshop one by one until I had the working pattern that you see here on the last render. So if you're working, try to blend everything together. You can see here that it's not working over here. Let me show you what I had to do. I had to take each mask from the channels and come over here, select this guy here and adjust the actual, go to 0 and to adjust everything like this. So I had to take everything. I didn't want to go to Maya and rework that part, so I had to rework the actual texture to make it blend, and to fix parts like this one and to copy parts like this one here. So I had to pixel art these guys to work. and to make them work. So try to make the pattern work from the very start, and to be able to see that it's working. The final camera that I used here had half the cut. To make it work and to have almost like an easy work to fix the part of the tutorial, I had to make these guys not as the tutorial that I haven't half the line. I had to make it to be half the cut here, just to blend it and to make it better, or to bake better on the blends. So be sure to work that thing right. Also, I had the problem here that these guys here that you can see here, Nuke, are too dark, and when I was rendering and trying the actual map, I could see the pattern on each repetition from this line here. So I had to fix it on Photoshop with actual curves, and to select that part and to level this thing out to have the same variance. Also, the final node network that we're going to use is the Shuffle, Grade, Merge, and Viewer. Here again, if you have the non-commercial version, you need to reformat and write your actual map. And that will be it for the tutorial. This is the final look that you're going to achieve. And this is the scene from a render from the actual scene. I still have a minor pattern here. You can see some lines here and some lines here, but with the displacement map, most of them are just not visible. So this is the result of the tutorial. I hope that you guys really like the result, and see you next time, and happy rendering.